you're doing great today. If you don't know me, my name is Areli, and if some of you may not know, this year, at the beginning of this year, I spent a few months living in Italy, and there were a few weird things that I encountered when I was living there that were not normal for me, coming from Mexico. Maybe for people who is from Europe or from Italy, obviously, those things are normal. But for me, since I never saw them before and I never knew about them, they were a bit weird. So with this video, I do not intend to offend anyone, not Italian people, not the country, not anyone. This is just my point of view of what I experienced when I was living there for a few months. So before we start, if you are not subscribed to this channel, I invite you to subscribe by clicking the red subscribe button that is here down below, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can get a notification every time that I upload a new video. So without further ado, let's get started with these weird facts about Italy. Okay, so one of the first things that I noticed as soon as I got to Italy is that in general, people is very serious and very tough. I'm not saying they're rude, I'm just saying sometimes they can be tough to deal with. For instance, if you push someone by accident, they are going to swear at you or they are going to give you a very suggestive stare. But when time passed, I just realized that's how they are, so I shouldn't take it personally or be offended. It's just their culture is like that. So another thing that I realized that might have to do with the previous point is that when you sneeze in Italy, no one says bless you, not even your family or your circle of friends, obviously not strangers. But that was really weird for me because coming from Mexico, if you're in the supermarket and you sneeze, the stranger that is closest to you is gonna tell you bless you, and there no one says it, which I think is weird. Italians do not speak. They scream. But once again, this is just how they speak. They are used to speaking a higher volume and maybe stronger tone. This also was something that I struggled a little to get used to, because when someone talked to me, I thought they were mad at me or they were scolding me, and that was not the case. That's just the way they talk. So after a few days and after meeting few people, I just got used to the tone, and I just registered in my brain that that's how they talk. Well, as you know, Italians are known for their gestures, especially this one, which is very famous. But as in Mexico, we use gestures to emphasize whatever we're saying. In Italy, it's not like that. Every gesture has a specific meaning, and depending on the context, this meaning can vary. So sometimes you can ask someone something and they will tell you something like this without saying a word, and you're like, yeah, what does that mean? So for instance, if you ask someone, is there any more cookies? And they tell you this means that cookies are over, and this is something you learn with time. We really need a dictionary that shows every single gesture and the meaning of it so we can learn it, because for real, there are a lot. One of the things that was very hard for me to get used to was that Italians do not have regular breakfast like we do. For instance, we would have a full breakfast in the morning, eggs, pancakes, bacon, hash brown, coffee, orange juice, a smoothie or something. It's a full-on breakfast. For Italians, the breakfast they have is a coffee and a croissant or a cookie or a little bread thing, a pastry basically. That's what they have for breakfast, and that's everything. If you are looking for a restaurant that serves breakfast, you are going to encounter just coffee and a pastry, and that is it, which was very weird for me because sometimes I woke up very, very hungry and all I got was coffee and cookies. Another thing that you need to know is that in Italy, when you go and ask for a coffee, especially to a shop, they don't call them cafes, they call them bars for starters. If you go to a bar and ask for a coffee, what they are going to give you is an espresso. So it's going to be a shot of very concentrated and strong coffee. Italians are used to drinking that every morning, but usually we don't drink that. We drink Americano, which is mostly water than than coffee. So if you want something like less intense, you either have to ask for a cappuccino, or you can try and see if they can make an Americano coffee for you, but I do not make any bets on it. You know that Italian cuisine is very delicious and very famous, but after spending a few months there, you might want to try something different. So for instance, me, I was looking for tacos or something like different that was not Italian food. I can tell you, there is none. In Italy, there is Italian food, period. They don't have anything else because they are so proud of their cuisine. Basically, they don't allow anything else. Another thing that I got to know is that Italians eat pasta every single day, from Monday to Sunday, and even sometimes twice a day. And for me, that was like too much. Like, I am tired of eating that much pasta. Can I have something else, please? But they are used to that, and I guess it's the equivalent of us eating tortillas or bread every day. So I guess it's just like different types of cereal in different types of presentations. In Italy, there is no such thing as American pizza franchises. Obviously, as I told you before, they are very proud of their cuisine. If you so much as mention an American franchise, they will basically kick you out, because that's how proud they are of their food, and they get offended every time someone mentions something like Domino's pizza, for instance. Another thing that I found out there is that in Italy, you don't share a pizza. Everyone has a pizza for themselves. You cut it with knife and fork, and you fold it like if it was a taco, and you eat it like that. In Italy, there are hundreds of dialects. You know that in Italy, the official language is Italian, obviously, but in every region, every city, they have a different dialect. If you are from Milan and you move 1 hour east to Bergamo, they will speak 2 different dialects. These dialects are mostly used for older people, but they are also passed through generations. So if you speak Italian and you hear 2 Italians talking to each other in dialect, you are not going to understand a thing. And 2 Italians from 2 different regions speaking dialect, they do not understand each other either, which is very fascinating and a fun fact that I learned when I was living in Italy. Another thing that I am still struggling with till this day is that in Italy they say hi with 2 kisses in each cheek. In Mexico we do the same, but we do just 1 kiss in the right cheek. So when we met someone for the first time, or when we are seeing an old friend, we do this and the person does the same, and it's a kiss on the right cheek. In Italy, they start with the left cheek. Instead of going like this, they go like this. So when I was meeting someone for the first time, my brain was already programmed to do this, but they were coming on the opposite side, so I ended up in very awkward situations. I still struggle with it, but like when I see someone approaching, I need to think, which side is it? It's not this one, it's the opposite, so I need to do this. So I don't have like any more awkward situations. But yeah, that was very weird for me. Okay, so this is another fun fact that I don't know if you knew, but Italy is a very, very small country. The territory of Italy is equivalent to the territory of Arizona. So imagine a whole country's territory is equal as just 1 state in the whole United States. So basically in Italy, people are on top of each other, literally. In Italy, everything is together, everything's small, and everything is crowded. So for instance, in Italy, the streets are this wide. The streets are super, super narrow. Then when I was in the car, I was literally scared because there was this car going this direction and then there was this other car coming through a street this narrow. Can you imagine? Plus, if you are walking down the street, there is no sidewalks. If you ask them where are the sidewalks, they will tell you what is that. And that is because they don't have space for sidewalks. Plus, people in Italy do not respect driving signs and laws. So you can imagine the way that they drive and the chaos that sometimes happens in the streets. And as I told you at the beginning, they are very tough, like when they're talking to someone, but whenever they're driving, this doubles. So you do not want to mess around with an Italian while you drive. Okay, so moving on to Italian houses. Obviously, before I moved to Italy, I never entered an Italian house before. So the first thing I noticed when I entered a bathroom were two things. First is that toilets in Italy are not oval or round as we know them. They are squared. Like the shape of the toilet is a square. The first time I saw it, I was like, what is that and why is it square? And apparently for them it's normal. And yeah, that was something very weird for me. But the weirdest thing of all was this thing that was next to the toilet, or like in front of the toilet sometimes. That is this little kind of like a mixture between a sink and a bassinet. So apparently Italians, after they use the toilet, they go and sit on this little bassinet and they wash themselves with water and soap instead of using toilet paper, which for me it was very weird because I never knew that was possible and I never knew these things existed. So I guess if you look it into a more objective point of view, this way is more hygienic, but we are not used to doing that or to use this. We don't even have this furniture in the bathroom back in America, so that was very weird. Another weird thing in Italian houses for me was that lights in a room turn on from the outside of the room, not on the inside. So usually in America we open the door and the switch is right there. In Italy the switch is outside of the door and sometimes even like 1 meter away from the door. So I thought that was very weird, like why don't I put it inside? Okay, so if you are going down the street and you feel like using the washroom, in Italy from time to time you are going to find that you open the restroom door and there is no toilet. There is just this kind of like square thing on the floor with a little hole and a place for you to put your feet. So basically you have to step and then you do whatever you need to do, and you have to have a really good aim because it's a very small hole. So the first time that I saw that, I was like, what is that? I'm not going in here, and I went right outside. That was very weird. I never saw it before, but the good news is that in most touristy places, they have the regular like toilet like we know it. Another thing that is very funny and very weird at the same time is that Italians are very superstitious. So you know how we said that knock on wood so this certain thing doesn't happen to you? Well, what they do is they cover themselves. For instance, women will do this and men will cover themselves down there. So whenever there is an ambulance passing by with the sirens, everyone will drop whatever they have in their hands and they will cover themselves. So can you imagine if you're driving, there's an ambulance behind you and you cannot move away so the ambulance can pass because you're too busy covering yourself, because if not, it's gonna happen to you, which I thought it was very, very weird, and I don't even know how they got like this tradition on. Like who thought about that? That is very silly, but it's their tradition and I'm not nobody to judge. But yeah, it was very funny and very like silly at the same time. And well, these are all the curious and weird facts I learned when I was living in Italy. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you learned a little bit about this country. Maybe you identify with some of these facts, or maybe you know that some of them were true. I hope this video was entertaining, and if you liked it, please help me by liking this video down below, and also don't forget to subscribe before you leave so you don't miss any of my future videos. You know that for me it was a pleasure being here with you today, and I will see you next time. Bye!